All right, let's get right into this because the story we're about to unpack is one of the weirdest and most fascinating mysteries in the history of space exploration. It all comes from the Apollo missions, and it starts with a scientific experiment that led to a question so bizarre it sounds like it was ripped straight from the pages of a sci-fi novel.
So, imagine you're a NASA scientist, sitting in mission control. You've just deliberately crashed a part of a spacecraft into the moon, and you're watching the data roll in. But what you see is just impossible. The entire moon isn't just shaking, it's vibrating, it's resonating. And the now famous words of one of the scientists, it rang like a bell.
And that, right there, is the million-dollar question. What on Earth, or, well, what on the moon, could possibly cause a celestial body to ring like a giant cosmic bell? This single strange observation kicked off one of the wildest theories you've ever heard. So let's dig in.
To really get what's going on, we have to go back to the Apollo missions. Now, beyond the famous flag planting and rock collecting, these astronauts were doing some seriously important science. They were setting up instruments, including seismometers, which are basically designed to listen for moonquakes and figure out what the moon's interior is actually like.
Okay, so this wasn't some kind of accident. No, this was totally on purpose. After the Apollo 12 astronauts were safely back in orbit, they sent their now empty lunar module, nicknamed the Intrepid, on a collision course with the moon. It slammed into the surface with the force of about a ton of TNT. The whole idea was to create a controlled artificial moonquake to test those brand new seismometers. And this is where things get really weird. On Earth, if he had an impact like that, the vibrations would shake for a few minutes and then they'd fade out. Simple. But on the moon, the seismometers showed the vibrations starting out small, then building up, and they just kept going for almost a full hour. This was completely alien. Nothing on our planet behaves like this.
So, you've got this totally baffling data sitting in front of you. It needs an explanation. And the one that really grabbed everyone's imagination was, well, it was as extraordinary as the data itself. I mean, if the moon rings like a bell, what if it kind of is one? And boom, there it is, the hollow moon theory. The basic idea is that our moon isn't a natural solid ball of rock at all. Instead, it's a massive, hollow, artificial sphere, maybe built by some ancient alien civilization. And that ringing? Well, that's just the sound of the shock waves bouncing around the inside of a giant metal hull.
I mean, it's an incredible thought, right? That object you see in the sky almost every night might not be what you think it is. It's such a compelling, almost romantic idea, because it takes a strange bit of scientific data and turns it into a cosmic conspiracy, a grand mystery about who or what might have put it there.
But, a captivating story is one thing. The hard evidence is something else entirely. So as cool as that theory is, we've got to ask, does it actually hold up? Let's turn away from the legend and get back to the data. This is the key. Because when actual geologists and planetary scientists looked at the exact same data that sparked the hollow moon theory, they saw something completely different. It was still fascinating for sure, but their conclusion was way off from the whole alien megastructure idea. So you can see the two sides right here. The theory claims a hollow, metal shell is what's ringing, but the geological evidence? It points to a dry, fractured crust. The answer, it turns out, isn't about some secret thing hidden inside the moon, but about something the moon is completely lacking. All right, let's break down the actual science here. Because to solve the mystery of the ringing moon, you first have to understand why moonquakes are so fundamentally different from earthquakes. The moon is just a whole different kind of world.
And here is the absolute game changer, water. See, here on Earth, a rock is saturated with water. It's in all the little cracks and pores, and all that water acts like a giant shock absorber. It damps down vibrations really, really quickly. The moon, on the other hand, is bone dry, like incredibly, unbelievably dry.
This really paints the picture, doesn't it? Hitting the Earth with an impact is like hitting a wet sponge. The sound just thuds and dies. But hitting the moon? That's like striking a tuning fork or a solid piece of granite. There is absolutely nothing there to absorb the energy, so the vibrations just keep going and going and going. So here's how it actually works, step by step. An impact creates seismic waves. Those waves start traveling through the moon's incredibly dry and fractured crust. But instead of getting soaked up, they just bounce and scatter off all those rock fractures, echoing around inside the moon for a super long time. The moon rings not because it's hollow, but because it's so incredibly solid and dry. So where does that leave us? Well,
The ringing sound was totally real. The data wasn't a mistake. But what it was telling us was something far more profound about geology than it was about aliens. So here's the final verdict from the data. Yes, the moon really does ring. But no, it's not evidence that it's hollow. What it is evidence of is a completely unique geology. It tells us that the moon is a dry, rigid, and very solid world. And that very dryness is a huge clue about its violent, fiery birth, so different from how our own water-rich planet formed.
So in the end, the scientific truth is honestly just as cool as the fiction. The ringing of the moon isn't the echo of some lost alien technology. It's the echo of 4.5 billion years of cosmic history, preserved perfectly in its ancient, solid rock.
So yeah, the moon isn't hollow. But solving that mystery just opened up a ton of new questions about how it was made and how it evolved. It's a pretty powerful reminder that even our closest celestial neighbor, something we see all the time, is still hiding some incredible secrets. Makes you wonder, what else is hiding right there in plain sight?